Now, is that an old poem, or was that something new? Or
I wrote it just the other day. It was new when I put it on Facebook.
now is that one that you wish people wouldn't think was about you? Is that one that you?
It wasn't about anything that had happened recently,
Right.
since I haven't been out of the house in a month. So it would have had to have happened in the Food Line parking lot. That's the only place I've been. Well, no, I was here last week. Here it is, right here.
Yeah, I found it.
This is the original.
That's a nice book. Where'd you get that from?
I don't know, but I love it. I had one like it, and it lasted almost 2 years. So I thought I had to get another one, and this one was up here, and I think somebody gave it to me.
All right, I think we're live on all the things.
All right.
It looks like it.
Well, welcome.
Let's do the intro credits here. Let's see. All right. You ready, Salsa? You ready, Kethra? Ready, Dad?
I am ready.
You ready, Con?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. What do y'all think of our opening credits? You seen these? When Dad came to life like that, I was the happiest kid in the world.
What is it? I can't see
That animation I made for the intro.
Oh,
You saw it, right?
yeah.
Even the lab coat, you have to switch on the machine.
What'd you say? It took you 20 hours to do 20 seconds?
20 hours to do 20 seconds. True story.
Really?
Wow.
I was learning too. I didn't know. I'm still learning how these apps work to do the animations. And like that, we're live. We're on all the things. We're even on Twitch. You ever heard of that? ask your friend's the kid about that.
What is it?
It's all the video gamers stream their games on, but it's like Discord popular with the kids.
It's a whole world out there of video gamers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever check in the real world or whatever?
Well,
world?
they live in a different real world,
Yeah. I believe that.
virtual world.
Yeah. I think there's more and more people switching over
Mm-hmm.
in one way or another.
Into the virtual world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Seems to be the way to go.
It's all coming.
Yeah.
You familiar with the singularity?
No? Tell me about it.
I'm trying to think of what author coined the term in the 50s or something. The idea
I mean,
that
I've heard the term, but I don't know
at a
what
certain-
you're referring to.
it's basically the idea that at a certain point the artificial intelligence and stuff like that will surpass
Takes over.
humanity, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure the origin of the phrase, but I know the concept.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. I see so many people that are out there that, for instance, birds. Birds have been important in my life as part of my world. And to me, when you say you see a bird, but I want to know what kind of bird, because I know what the difference between the behavior of a titmouse and a chickadee. They're totally different creatures.
Right.
But for a lot of people, a bird's a bird,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a bird. But that's part of what I think you're seeing happen when you talk about what you were talking about, is that we're divorcing ourselves from the real world
Right.
in a lot of ways.
Mm.
And what we end up doing, what a lot of people are doing, is finding a nice rabbit hole they like and going on down in it and not worrying about coming out. And that's where you get all this other stuff going on.
Right.
And you get people acting totally irrationally in the real world that we know of, but they don't even know that the real world's out there. They're not living in that world, and you get some very strange behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
But
Just beginning.
yeah, that's what's interesting about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people that are trying to fight that and go back to nature, and you have all of that stuff going on. But who's winning? Probably the people with the. That's easier. This is a lot easier than going out in the woods,
Mm-hmm. It's true.
especially when it's cold.
Now, what was that thing? I think you were doing it, where like you give it 3 words and it creates a piece of art. What is that called?
Just artificial intelligence art, AI art.
Have you seen that?
You can do it in Discord.
You'll just type in like cat, guitar.
Oh yeah,
poem,
putting
and
people.
Wait, what
faces.
did you just say?
Cat, guitar, poem.
Somebody in Discord create an AI art with cat, guitar, poem.
Right.
Cat, guitar, poem is the 3 prompts. Here it comes.
What?
So you just give it this. You give it 3 words in order to create a piece of art based on those 3.
Oh my goodness, who's doing it? The machine?
Do the Imagine one too, tech support. This is our bot. Percy just made this for you.
So see that was just created.
Wow.
Try one with the Imagine bot. / Imagine cat, guitar, poem. This is Percy, our bot on Discord, doing a sort of rudimentary version. But this other thing.
Percy. Now, what are you saying when you say this is Percy?
It's. I'm afraid it's going to be even more confusing. But
You don't want to add.
our friend on Discord created a bot for.
Now, what's a bot?
It's something that can do something in the chat, like our bot can field requests. Like if I'm playing live, if anyone types in %R in the name of a Nathan Moore song, it'll go into a list, and I can type in requests and see what people have requested from wherever they're watching. Or you can type in $roll, and Percy will roll dice for us. Or you can type in percentage. It's like all these things that, as long as a computer can do it, it's just a specially made computer program to interact with people in the chat.
Wow.
Does that make any sense?
It kind of made enough sense that it scares me.
We just taught Percy the other night how to take a poll. So I can type in %poll and say, should I work on this new song or should I play songs on piano? I can create a list of things and then people will
it'll
vote.
Compute it and tell you what.
Exactly.
Wow.
So here's.
So it's like instant, results for this stuff.
That's amazing.
It's pretty interesting how similar Percy's and the other AI art is in their cat, guitar, poem art.
You think one of them's copying from the other one? Or they have the same source,
That's right.
which is another bigger bot from Walmart.
Can you see it?
Oh my God, same colors basically.
Same colors. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Or what? Yeah, it's very similar.
Wow.
Well, y'all programmed them so they would.
This artwork was created by an outside source that's a lot more sophisticated in its AI art than what Andy was able to create for Percy to do.
Okay.
It's fascinating stuff, though. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Now, how do you keep up with all this stuff? Just being alive and having a brain?
I guess I just have a desire to implement it.
Right.
That's the main thing. As soon as I heard there was AI art, especially for someone who can't draw, that needs content for flyers and advertisements and the streaming show or whatever, I was immediately fascinated. Like, oh, how could I use this to generate content, to make music videos and stuff like that.
Wow.
But a desire to use it really helps in learning stuff.
Right.
I think a lot of reasons kids struggle to learn stuff is because they can't even conceive how they would ever use the information.
Exactly.
But if you want to, if you're trying to do something, then knowing how to do it becomes vital.
Right.
Very true. It was very difficult to convince a lot of people that chemistry was worth learning.
Right.
And there were a few that knew already that they wanted to be doctors or whatever, and they had that goal, so it was easier for them because they saw a reason to do it. True. It's very true.
Seems like that would be like one of the main things a teacher does, sort of translate that.
Well, I mean, there's different ways you can approach it. One is grades. You know, the whole purpose of grading is you want to get a good grade, so you're going to do what I tell you to do, even though we both know it's worthless and you'll never use it. But you want that grade, don't you?
Right.
And you do need that grade.
Wow.
But that's where I find myself now, is that there's really not very much new that I want to learn. I'm having, kind of through learning because I don't know where I'm going to use it anymore. So there you go.
Well, the older you, or in my case, the older I get, the farther I fall behind, the harder it is to keep up. You know, it's like you just start saying like, oh, well, I'm not going to need this, you know. Just like chemistry, like I really don't need to know how the TV remote works. So, you know, I just.
That's one thing that's so interesting about the singularity, and in terms of what we're talking about now, is that so much of the technology that's been created in the last 30, 40 years or whatever is so beyond any of our abilities to understand it.
Right.
Like when Dad was growing up, almost everything in the house could be taken apart and put back together again by a curious soul.
Right.
And they could just sort of figure it out, how it works. But with computers, I mean, I still am not convinced humanity created any of this stuff. I don't know where it's like from outer space or something. We're not about to take apart a computer and figure it out on any. I'm not.
And that's a good thing to think about too. For instance, cars, where there's a guy there over next door. He could take apart your car, put it back together. That's what he did for fun. And he had a good reason to do it because it helped him. But right now, with all the computers, they have to take it in.
You got to take it in.
You got to take it in. And the other thing you have is that it's a disposable society now because of that. They don't fix things that you're supposed to fix.
Right.
I mean, excuse me, they don't make things to be fixed. They make them to be thrown away and buy a new one.
And it's a consumer society too, so they don't make them to last.
Right. Exactly.
It's all the above.
Exactly.
We're talking about how like we don't understand how this stuff. So this would have been like in the mid '80s. My brother-in-law was like computer science or something. You know, people didn't even have like laptops or home computers then. But so he was going to VCU, and they would program. They had these old-timey computers, but they would write the program on the computer. But he said they would have students that would come from India to study at VCU, and they still wrote all that program out by hand. And he said, you never felt so like science fiction when you're sitting at VCU on this computer, just typing it in and it creates it. And these people would come drawing all the O's and they would hand you these huge sheets of paper, and you're like these people really actually understand what they're doing. They're like actually with their brain creating this, they know what the 7 zeros and a 7 mean, It's like, he said it was just like a total different way that people understand how things work.
I wish we could force people like that to be our politicians, like to take the most brilliant minds on the planet and make them serve for two to
Oh,
4 years to because I look at all this technology and I know that there's brilliant people in the world,
yeah.
and then I look at our politicians and I'm like, how are these idiots are getting to such a,
Right.
because it's like two different jobs where I feel like politics should be like brilliant people taking time away from their pursuits to serve society for a short term and then go back to work or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like all these brilliant minds are not accessible to us. I'm glad to hear that
Right.
story because I'm like, okay, these people do exist. It's not just aliens
Right.
zapping this technology to us. There's
They
people
don't
that
exist anymore. They all got phased out.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, this was back. He said they just didn't have the technology over there then, or I mean, it was probably there, but they didn't have the money to have these little places they were studying. I mean, I don't want to get into religion at all, but that.
yeah, you do.
Well, I don't think I want you to.
So,
From what I heard earlier.
so as you know, well, so it's
It's not a strong point.
so it's something else I learned, and I sort of knew this, but like you were saying how, and like I agree with you, if the smart people should do this, but they were saying one of the downfalls of religion are people don't want to go to a church or have a leader that really knows more than they do. You feel comfortable if like somebody just is telling you what you know and what you agree with. So I think for these really smart people to be political leaders would be hard because people would be like, I don't understand what they're doing and I don't trust them. They're doing things I don't understand, and people have they just don't trust people that are smarter than them.
Right, right. Right. And yeah, and it would be hard to trust them if
Right.
you didn't understand them.
Right.
So keep the idiots in charge. At least we can feel superior to them
Right.
and understand them or something. Got a lot of action going on here in the chat. Welcome everybody to the show. Arpeggio, tech support, Heather, Pickle King. What's shaking? The brilliant minds are busy making a positive difference. Politics would get in their way.
True.
Ding ding. So what you got there, Dad?
I have my journal. I was thinking if we got stuck, I was thinking about train of thought, ideas, where we could go. We were talking about that poem. We want to follow up with that?
Sure. Your latest Facebook post.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about that idea of me not putting my poetry and works of art on Facebook because it sounds like I'm talking first person about me, and a lot of times with my poetry is fiction, and I don't mean for it to be. But that's not why I brought that up. I had a whole different point, but we can make that point again.
Well, I'll read it first, just so we know what we're talking about. This is Dad's latest Facebook post. A poem. I wanted you to notice me. Wished you were intrigued. Needed just one smile that said you would like to know me better. But I slipped out the back door before our eyes could meet. I listened to Tom Waits all the way home. It was the darkest night of the year. I woke up on the couch and saw on my way to the bathroom someone had hung a blood-red moon.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, my comment about that I was going to make was wherever you go with that, and I liked what you said about creating pictures, but that's a lot of what I do with the words or a line. A lot of times it's just me trying to take your emotions to a place, and I try to do it in the fewest words I can and the most basic words, the way I talk, not like Wordsworth talks. And there's a poem and I wrote somewhere about I was giving Wordsworth shit for using the word boon just so he could rhyme with June. And I said something like, I don't want to be crass, but You're just a fucking pain in the ass. So, you know, I got off the subject there. But you know what I'm saying. Or do you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand.
What was I saying?
You were talking about trying to capture. You were trying to capture in the way you speak the
Thank you.
emotion and the feeling of what.
Yeah. So what I was thinking about after I wrote that and after I put it up, and you know, a couple of people liked it, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. But you know, I mean, I'm not saying it's a great poem, but what I was thinking about was, what's that poem about? And when I looked at that poem, and I realized that poem is actually about nothing. I mean, not anything happened in that poem. If you think about what you read and what actually I was talking about, I saw someone.
Yeah, but it's about nothing. But it's like 1,001 possibilities.
Right, but nothing actually took place. There was no interchange with anybody there. Everything that happened in that poem happened in my brain.
Right.
As I described it. Nothing really happened at all. So the poem is about nothing, which is very important because a lot of our lives are about nothing. That's what I was thinking. Somebody jump in. I don't know. That's what I
mean,
was thinking.
Even though we had talked last week about you don't want people to think these are about you and your real life, even though I knew that, when I read it, I picture you, you know, so, I mean, it's just, you know, it's hard to separate the author, the words from the, like the singer from the song, you know, it's hard to separate, you know.
Yeah, and that's true. I understand that. And it does come, like I do have a reason why I put Tom Waits in there,
Right.
because of what he creates in my mind when I listen to
Right.
him. So I am in there. But it's not about me, or it's not
Right.
about an incident that really happened recently.
Mm-hmm.
As I was saying earlier, those things aren't happening these days, except if you look at it from the other point of view, which is they're nothing. Those things are happening all the time for me. I am doing so much nothing these days, it's remarkable.
But it's like almost the beginning of a good story. You've set up the beginning of a story, like, where did this other person go? Did they actually notice you and you just didn't notice that they noticed? It opens up, instead of narrowing it down to this is what happens, it opens it up to, you know, did this person see him and he was looking the other way when they noticed him, and they were like, oh, I wish he would come over here. And then, you know, you went and got in the car and listened to Tom Waits, and they followed you and crept up to your window and looked in on you. I mean, you know, you don't know what happens.
They hung the moon.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm leaving that for you. I mean, I'm saying nothing happened in the poem, but if you went somewhere with it, that's wonderful.
Well, that was the beauty of it. It was sort of a poem of like possibilities. You had to fill in, well, you didn't have to, but if you're a good reader, I think your brain should fill in, you know, paint the background and
I guess that's why I wrote it.
right.
But
But some of those are much more expansive and encompassing than just, I saw her and I said this and she said that. You know, it's
yeah, it leaves it more open. The
yeah.
book, I just opened the book, and
right.
you can write what you want. I really like the way he analyzes my stuff. I think I should write a poem and then take it to him and let him interpret it, and we'll put those together, and it might be worth reading.
In the chat it says, quote, I left before our eyes could meet, end quote, seemed intentional, which makes it something happening to me.
Oh.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things in there that you could look at that way, because the converse of what I was saying was that when nothing happens, that's something. So that's true.
Now, what was it? What was the line that they quoted?
I left before our eyes could meet.
Yeah.
Did I say that? But yeah, that's part of it. The part of it is, it's a poem about nothing. But
But I
did
slipped out the back door before our eyes could meet.
4 hours.
So that's something happening. But I know what you mean. It's all your own internal.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And it's also, did you do that on purpose? Like you said, oh, I don't want to get involved. This is too much. I'm going to, that sort of the words, I slipped out the back door. It's like you just didn't get up and walk right past them and leave. You slipped out the back door, like, so they wouldn't notice you leaving. I mean, it opens up all kinds of,
Well, that's true.
There's a
You
lot
act-
happening in that nothing.
Well, and that's true, I guess. And that's why I wrote it and called it a poem and put it on Facebook. I had one specific point about nothing. It wasn't total nothing. That's
Right. But that it all happened inside the narrator's brain.
right. It was
Well,
all-
as like a police report, if somebody said that, they would go, "We have no idea what happened. Nothing happened here. There was no crime. We can't file a report."
yeah, nothing really did happen,
Right.
as far as anything concrete.
Who was the other person? We don't know. Where was this? We don't know. Well, let's just call it a day. You go. Yeah.
Was it a dog or a woman?
Was it a hellbender? Tell us the truth. Come on.
I hope everybody's studied Hellbenders
Yeah.
this week. There will be a quiz at the end of the semester.
Now, when you're writing songs, is it basic? Like, do you just have like a line in your mind, or do you have a story to tell?
Usually it's just probably like Dad's post. Like you just start singing or start typing and
The difference that I always am fascinated by is that you have the music too. Do they go together, or we've talked?
it always seems like it's just on the tip of the instrument's tongue. You just pick up your guitar, and wherever you happen to lay your hands down is an accident. Then you're just like, that feels pretty good. And then you wonder what those mumbles, what are the syllables of the mumbles that came out, and it always.
But
It always is a surprise. I don't think I've ever been like, I should write a song about blank.
Really?
Very rarely. Like every now and again, like when you told me about Nana saying, "Oh, it's not the end of the world," and I said immediately, like, "Oh, I should write that song tonight." Or so there are times every now and again when I'll hear a line or something and be like, "Oh, I got to do something with that." But usually it's complete surprise.
no, do you like this morning? I was driving to work, and for some reason, my radios are all broken. I can't listen to music, so in my mind, just the line, "I've played shirts and I've played skins" came to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving. I've played shirts and I've played skins, and I'm just thinking, all right, I've played shirts and I've played skins. I've had my fair share of losses and wins.
Yeah.
So then I thought, no, that's not very good. So I played shirts and I played skins, but I've never voted for Republicans. And so I thought that, and then I thought, I've played shirts and I've played skins. I've broken hearts and I've scraped shins. And I was like, oh, okay. Then I've played hearts and I've played shirts and I've played skins. I played dominoes with Dominicans. And then but then I kept thinking, what, am I just going to drive the whole way to work just thinking of all the rhymes that could go with this thing? But do you ever get like that where you just like keep working on stuff over and over in your head?
Those are all gold. You got a song right there. It's just.
But do you ever write songs like that where you're just like doing something else, cutting the grass or doing something else?
It helps to be distracted.
Right.
In fact, if I get stuck on a line, I'll go wash a dish or something. Or when we lived out in the country, it was always step out to pee off the back porch or something. That's when the eureka moment where you get unstuck, and then you go back to it. But stepping away from it is always the best trick to get unstuck. Do some menial task, something that distracts you just a little bit to let the idea come.
Right.
If you just focused on it, thinking, it'll never happen. It's always interesting to me. Oh, time to go fill my tea up. I'm stuck. It's just reaching in to get the ice that comes.
Right.
It's weird.
No, are you good at remembering these things, or do you have to write them down, or do you lose things you wish you had
I
never
guess
lost?
I've lost a lot of things I wish I'd never lost, for sure. Especially if the music's complicated at all. That can be a real struggle. But then on the other hand, I consider it sort of a natural filtration. It's like if I don't remember it, must not have been worth
Right.
remembering, kind of thing. My editor.
My memory, the editor.
Did you come up with any lines you've forgotten today that rhymed with shirts and skins?
I probably have, but because I kept trying to think about it when I was going to work.
So you just remembered those. So those were the good ones. They had something. They had something.
I didn't like the Dominoes and Dominicans, but I couldn't think of any other game.
You had to do it though.
But it's like I have no idea where I've played shirts and I've played skins. I mean, I must, I was down by the public library. That's where I was driving to work, and it just came to me. But it's like, where in the world does that come from?
Yeah, where'd it come?
Well, it came from the basketball court right there.
Right,
They might have.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's where you play shirts and skins.
Yeah.
At least I'm not sure we're
probably-
talking about the same game.
I mean, that could well be it.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah. There was a point in my life where I stopped playing skins.
I'm on the shirts. I don't even care who
Shirts
picks
are
me.
over here.
Long sleeve shirts over here.
Turtlenecks.
No, how about when you were doing magic? Did you come up with some patter or some? Was that like writing a skit or a
I
dialogue?
tried. I'm not very good at it. I'm struggling with that right now because I want to write puppet plays, and I don't know where to begin. So last night I was Googling puppet play scripts, just seeing if I read some, if it would spark or just
Right.
sort of get my brain around how people
What
do.
are you talking about?
Just like plays for puppets.
Plays for puppets?
Yeah, like dialogue, like just a little.
Well, you don't want to do somebody else's, do you?
No, I was just looking at that for
For
inspiration.
ideas. Okay.
Just like what
Oh, like for like a youth oriented or adult oriented or?
for adults, for my show. This all up here is puppets. Got a box of puppets down here, and I got a green screen up there, so I can just reach up and have puppets. But then I'm just riffing, and I was like, last night it'd be cool to write some actual scenes, some dialogue,
Right.
some like actually come up with some scripts. But
Then where do you find puppets at?
everywhere.
Wow.
Thrift stores make them. A lot of them are made by people. My favorites were made by friends. This is Wilbur. He's the news anchor on the show. And he goes live, and I got the breaking news here on Hippie Fiasco TV. And his Wilbur's shtick is he's always like, "Wait, what? What? Oh my God, can you believe it? I can't even believe it." That's how he reports on everything.
Now you can't put on a whole puppet show by yourself, though, can you?
Why not?
How many hands do you have?
2 at a time. But 2 puppets could.
I think he's looking for an invite.
I know. I felt that too.
but like
I do need you, Kyle. I do. You can be in my
don't you want to
puppet.
have 4 people?
You can be in my puppet play.
I have free hands any night this week.
Here you go.
I'm doing an imitation of Kyle. I've never done that before.
But you, but the thing is, if you have two and you want to change, you got to take both hands down.
I
You
know
can't.
it's tough. It's hard to put a puppet on one hand,
I'm
one-handedly.
your puppet. You ever sing that song while you're doing it?
I don't know that song.
Oh, who's that? The
James
Temptations?
and Bobby
Who is it?
Purify.
Do you know who it's by, really? I'm your puppet.
I'm your
yeah.
puppet. You don't know that song?
That's a
I
good
don't know if I
song.
know that song.
Oh, come on.
I should know that
Google.
song.
It's a really good song.
No, we can't play it because we'll get a copyright strike.
Well, I didn't say play it. I said, I want
I
you
will. I will.
to- Yeah. Well, you know James and Bobby Purify.
I don't know if I do.
Well, I
I'm your
don't know.
puppet.
You should.
This looks like
Kethra back there?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know it?
No, I don't think I do.
I'm your puppet. It's a great song.
yeah. Is this one based on your cat with the bow tie?
That's Mr. Know-It-All. When I hold it, I don't know what he could be anything for you, but when I do it, it's Mr. Know-It-All.
Gosh.
Well,
Well, let's hear it.
yeah, be him.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, become him.
You become whatever you want to become.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Mr. Know-It-All.
Yeah. When in
I
your
wasn't-
hand, it's
I wasn't
whatever
like,
you
I
want it
wasn't
to
like
be.
prepared for
I
puppets.
should have
so
given you
can't
the whole
do
box
it.
and seen which puppet you picked, because that would have been revealing,
Well,
I
you can
feel
still
like.
do it.
That's true.
I am Mr. Kurtz.
Mr. Kurtz.
Steve, we need to see you down in the office. This is Mr. Kurtz.
Yes, sir. I'll be there as soon as I can get down there.
Someone said that you're their puppet.
I'm coming.
Man, this is pretty fascinating.
It's pretty fascinating, right?
I mean, this is like addictive.
It is. Yeah.
Do you ever try to talk to him? He's just like talking to the puppet. He won't pay attention to you. You gotta like slap him across the face. Nathan, wake up! Oh God!
Pick one out. Pick your own. Look through there and pick one that you want.
No, I don't want this whole show to be about me.
Well, you should have thought of that sooner.
Oh, you got a lot of handmade ones.
James and Bobby
Oh, look at this one with overalls on.
Purify?
Yep.
James and Bobby Purify?
They were brothers.
That was actually a last name, Purify?
They were two black gentlemen, African Americans.
Purify.
Purify, which is a great name. I think it's just Purify. Might be wrong there.
It's a really beautiful song. God, who made these things? These are like,
Yeah, that was made by my friend Molly. He's a good one.
wow, that's incredible. I don't even care about your magic anymore.
Oh,
Look at that one. I'm Kyle Hogg.
hi. I'm Kyle Hogg.
Are we losing viewers yet? Is there anybody left out there? I'm still here. Don't leave. We're going to talk about religion. Hold on. You got a lot to learn.
I think he found his puppet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. I think he's falling in love with everyone he picks up.
Oh, that's so cool. I thought it was funny that one of my friends said I was fangirling so hard over you when you were a magician. That people, I don't know what they're saying about me now, the puppet. Man.
So when you drive to work tomorrow, think of a script. Think of a puppet play we could write.
I think you should sing that. He should sing I'm Your Puppet with them.
Well, he doesn't know it.
Not yet.
I would like to hear him
How
sing.
come that's the only part of the song I can think of? I'm your puppet. I can't even think of the rest, any other lyrics.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't have very memorable.
Should we risk a copyright strike?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd put us on the map. I haven't broken the law all day. That I know of.
If it's a puppet doing it, they really can't do anything to them, can they?
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, they can't sue a puppet.
and a big crazy is breakfast. It was too much. What you need in the morning is tasty, simple food.
You'll probably recognize it once you hear it.
Yeah.
We've got live video from the old Western State here tonight. The Jarnett's Youth Center. Here we are.
I should learn that.
It's a
yeah,
really good
I can't
song.
believe you don't know that with your puppet background and your 45 background.
Right.
They should have met each other on the road.
Oh
Great
gosh,
song.
the puppets really took us off the beaten path. I don't know what we were talking
Where
about.
are we now?
But I think James and Bobby Purified would be honored that they'd be. I mean, why would anybody get mad if you played their song?
I know it's the whole thing.
It's a weird world. I guess everybody's trying to make their money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I never use that phrase correctly. I feel like because when I use double-edged sword, I usually mean there's a good side and a bad side.
Right.
Is that what that means?
I think so.
I think so. It means it can get you from two sides, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like two sides of a coin.
Right. Now
That would be better than
than double-edged
double-edged
sword.
sword.
Right.
Double-edged sword's a little violent too when you think about it.
And vague. What's the appropriate use of double-edged sword?
Well, it can hurt you in two different ways,
Right.
but both of them are hurtful. Whereas the
Two
other,
sides of the same
I
coin.
mean, it'd be one's good and one's bad, one's
Right.
head and one's tail.
Or maybe a double-edged sword is you're trying to hurt me, but it ends up hurting you too.
Mm,
Very good.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess I was trying to say two sides of the same coin because it comes from like trying to protect artists' work.
Right.
And not having it be exploited or used
Yeah,
by
I get
other
that.
people. But then with the algorithms, next thing you know, like I'm getting copyright strikes for sharing my friend's music.
Now, what do
or
they do? What do
Actually,
you
actually
explain
helping
that?
people. Like it's not a.
When you get a strike, what does that mean to your world?
That means YouTube will flag the video and a lot of times will remove it from their platform entirely because I used music that I didn't own. So actually that probably will get a strike. Even though I didn't play it directly on the show, the microphone heard it. And
Now, if we get a strike, is that the same as being out? What I don't.
no, a lot
know
of
that
times it's not that
terminology.
severe.
Do you think we've lost the show because of that?
I don't know.
Wow.
We'll just have to
Somebody's
wait.
got a lot of
We'll have to
power.
wait till the dust settles and see if we're still here.
We got to take it live on the road now. It's like, wait a minute. Where's that goddamn puppet box? I've been riding in this van with y'all two doofuses for 7 hours. Forget the magic. Let's just do the puppets. Oh my God. Now, when you're doing this thing for the Leonard Cohen, are you doing your songs or are you doing his songs?
I think I'm going to do a little of both.
Okay.
Mostly his songs. I'm only doing like 4 songs, but I might do half and half.
You decided which songs of yours you would do?
Trying to think of my most Cohen-like songs, which there's quite a few. He's such a big influence on me.
Or are you going to do
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah?
I think I am.
I was telling him on the way over, you do a great Hallelujah.
Thank you.
I've always liked that.
It's a great song.
I like. Oh no, I know what Here's an idea I had tonight for. I was thinking about what we could talk about tonight. I was thinking about giving you somebody to sing a song of, and that was before I started thinking about the show and Leonard Cohen. So, but the people I'm talking about. There's 5 artists that I think both of us look up to. But I was going to say that my request tonight is I'd like for you to do a Greg Brown song.
Mm-hmm.
And but and he did he do I'm Your Puppet? No, Greg. Do you know Greg Brown?
The name's not ringing a bell. No.
I was thinking today about the night I discovered Greg Brown was up in Vermont, which I've only been to one time for 2 nights. And I was at a camp. I rented some people's farmhouse and took my boys up there. We were going to Maine, and we stopped here for a couple nights in Vermont. And I was listening to public radio after the boys went to bed, and I heard Greg Brown, and I called you up. Said, there's somebody out there you got to listen
I was
to.
living in Austin, Texas, and somehow did you record it off the radio or something?
I don't know. No, I didn't record.
Because you held the phone up.
Yeah, he was on there. He was on the radio right then.
I don't know that guy. He was like, it must have been like they were playing a bunch of Greg Brown.
Right.
You're like, Nathan has to hear this right now, and you held the phone up to the radio, and that was the first time I ever heard Greg Brown. And
Was it that song?
It was. I don't know that
Because
guy.
that's the song that I thought that I would ask you to, if I was going to ask you to do a Greg Brown song. But I had several of them, but I liked that one. I don't know that guy. Could you do that?
Classic. Probably get a copyright strike.
God damn it!
No, wait a minute. So even if you
Well, wait a minute.
So if you
Didn't we get a copyright strike for that?
We already have one, is what you're saying. So all bets are off.
No, I just meant, God damn it. I was thank God. If anybody's going to strike you,
Well,
so even if you don't play the original, will you do a cover of it? That's
yeah.
unless you get Greg. What if we have a puppet say you have Greg Brown's permission? Now,
That would be
see,
in
the
the
thing that
appeal.
bothers me about that is Greg Brown, if you ask him, he'd say, yeah, Nathan, do it.
Absolutely.
But he would love it.
is he a
And-
guy that's still around?
But,
is he still around?
yeah, I don't think he's performing, but he's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, he might be performing.
Not much.
I don't think so. But he rode it. He rode that horse a long time.
One of the best.
Yeah. But check him out
Greg Brown.
when it's legal. Ask Alexa to play Greg Brown. She can do it. I didn't think Alexa would know Greg Brown, but she does.
Like what style of music is it?
Songwriter.
Folk singer. He's great. Oh man, Spring Winds.
Such a
Oh,
good
my
one.
goodness, that's a great one.
Yeah, I'll risk it and just play like a verse. I haven't done it in a long time. I have to cheat and see what the chords are here. Me, I'm happy-go-lucky, always ready to grin. I ain't afraid of loving you, ain't fascinated with sin. So who's this fella in my shoes, giving you the eye? I don't know that guy. Who took my suitcase? Who stole my guitar? Where's my sense of humor? What am I doing in this bar? This man who's been drinking and giving you the eye. I don't know that guy.
Woo! I love it. I
Great
got on the
song.
phone right when I heard that and called up my son.
He's got to
I
hear
said, There's
this.
this old man out there trying to be like you. We got to stop him
Put a strike on his name.
before we strike out.
It was probably like a year or two later. I was opening for him at the Santa Fe Music
Oh,
Hall.
wow.
I made it became my mission to open for him one day, and I tried so many times in Austin, but I could never get on the bill. But then
Was he a Texas
eventually,
guy or where was he from?
no, he's Iowa.
Okay.
Iowa guy. Yeah.
It was one of the magic nights of my life opening for Greg Brown. I remember that it was the backstage was downstairs from the place, so a lot of times from the backstage you can hear the stage, but in this venue the backstage was down in the basement
Right.
underneath the stage. So I was like, I was I almost begged him to listen to my set. I was like, I really want you to hear my set, so please. And so right before I went on, I took a trash can and propped open the door to the stairs that went down so that he could hear me. And right when I was about to start playing, someone from the venue went and took the trash can away from the door, and I was like, no, you got to leave that there. Greg Brown has to hear me tonight. But it turned out to be really sweet. I think he was really touched by my friends that came after my set backstage, and they all knew how important it was to me,
Right.
and he could see that. And he was like,
Right.
man, this is like a big deal to this guy.
Right.
And he gave me his phone number that night, and every time my band traveled through Iowa, I would call him, and he would meet for a drink or for breakfast
wow.
or something. He was really
Was he an older guy or was
surprisingly accessible to me. He gave me that gift.
Wow.
He always answered when I called.
That's a wonderful
And
story.
once he met me for a drink, and once he took the Museman out for breakfast to a Perkins and paid for the tab.
Oh gosh.
Good man.
Dave was all trying to be like, no, you don't have to pay, and Greg Brown was like, I'm a semi-famous folk singer.
That's a great story.
That's good stuff. Now he got hooked up with that cute little singer,
Iris DeMent.
Iris DeMent. I loved her
no,
too.
yeah. So he's not like an old guy.
He's
Probably
older
my-
than
he's
me.
Probably my age.
Yeah, but I was thinking he wasn't like when you met him. He wasn't like 80 years old.
no.
Nah, he could still be out there. He's probably about 70.
Mm-hmm. Probably a little younger than you. Is probably what
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I know her stuff.
Boy,
I've never
I
heard
tell
it,
you what, it was depressing the other night. I was watching that World Series, and they mentioned that Dusty Baker is younger than I am. Now, that's impossible. But I grew up watching Dusty Baker
Right.
play ball.
Right.
So how can he be younger than me? But evidently he's 72 and I'm 74, so the numbers don't lie. There you go.
Well, you know those sports people, especially back in the day, they fudged their ages a little bit to look younger, appear younger,
I reckon.
stretch their careers longer.
I remember the first time I ever felt age at all was when I realized I was older than all the football players I was watching on,
I know.
because athletes are young.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I spent my whole life looking up to them like they were giants, and one day I realized, wait, and I wasn't that old yet, but I was older than everybody on the NFL football game.
Oh yeah.
I know it's so weird, when the Commanders beat the Eagles and they show all the Miami Dolphins. And Larry Zonka, 91 years old, Bob Greasy, 110. You're like, wait a minute, I was a kid watching those guys. How can they possibly be this old? You're like, God, I mean, they were only like 10 years older than me, and now how can they be, pushing 100?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're all growing up.
Yeah, we're all doing that. At my age, you're just looking at all the rock stars that are just, they're old as dirt. They're just, some of them are even older than me. It's just hard to believe. But that's, those are the lucky ones.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't make it out of their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Can we should skip over to something less disturbing about an old age
Than
and
our
death.
old age. Well, so what was your plans for the West End?
Well, I don't know how much of that I want to do, but I do. Here's the thing. I'll throw this out. When I look around town, you find these places like we were talking about the waffles, and people. There's new places are ready to open up as soon as one
Right.
goes down, but I think one of the problems that we have with our culture is that the same people have to support all of them, and those people have a little extra money, obviously. To go out to dinner takes extra money. So if you're hurting, what I'm getting at is you've got one segment of society that's supporting all this, all these nice restaurants that serve food at a level up here,
Right.
but nobody's making any money off any of the body down here. Plus, the people down here are never getting to go out to eat.
No option.
They never get to go out and have somebody serve them.
Right.
So it's like it's really creating it's helping to create this dichotomy of economic culture on our planet. So my idea was use the money from the West End, get grant money, you get philanthropists, you get people that will donate, and you create a restaurant, and the restaurant serves a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for 74 cents.
Right.
That they make it, and you're served,
Right.
and you have service, and you can pay, and and then you can have people that get to go free,
Right.
with the money that you have, and so I would be hiring people and paying them a decent wage,
Right.
so they'd be able to go home,
Right.
and the people and it gives a break to the other businesses too, because it wouldn't be an impact on them because you're not after the same market.
Right.
But it would have to be subsidized.
It would have to be subsidized, but there's a lot of things being subsidized, like the food bank. It's just another version. It's another way of getting it to people. But what it does do is give people jobs, which when I see Walmart with these machines that are trying to replace the people,
Right.
I want the people. I want to pay a person. I want to talk to a person. I don't want to pay that machine.
Right.
I will not go to that machine.
Right.
I'll break it, but accidentally,
Right.
because I don't know how to do it. But so there's you're getting some money, you're getting a job, you're getting a business on the west end of town, and you're serving people that don't usually get served. So that's my idea.
Well, do you know who John Bon Jovi is?
John Bon Jovi, does he live here?
No, do you know who that is?
Well, I know he's a guy.
Yeah, same. Well,
he's,
when I
he's
was
a musician.
Yeah, when I was living in New Jersey, I lived pretty close to this town called Red Bank, and he has a restaurant there, really good food. It's pay what you can. So I think the concept is if you have money, you'll go in, you'll feel some love in your heart, and you'll pay. You're not really paying for people that can't, but you're paying enough that they can feed the people that come in. They just have $3 in their pocket, and they want to get a good steak and a baked potato. I mean, it's all like really good food, but they hope that it evens out. That people with money will pay a little bit more,
Right,
cover.
right.
And that's been in business now for like 10 years or something.
Yeah. It's a good.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's
That is a
beautiful.
good idea. That's just a variation on the.
Right.
On
Same.
my thing,
Same
it's the same
concept, sorta,
idea. But I see a lot of. Here's
That's
the,
beautiful because then you might even cover the subsidies a little bit by people paying more than it's worth just
Right,
to
yeah.
support the cause.
Right.
It's
Now
nice.
here's another idea that goes with it. You're also working with grocery stores like Food Line, because when they have extra food,
Right.
they give it to the food banks.
Right.
All right, I want to tap into that and send some of that on down to us.
Right.
But here's another idea that goes along with that. This comes from my work with Meals on Wheels and then taking care of my mother. Here's another. I really like this one. 'Cause I deal with a lot. I was dealing with a lot of people, and have met a lot of people that for their living they do elder care.
Right.
So what you do there is they call up and they order, and you go 3 days a week, or whatever. I said 3 because I don't want to be there every day. But I have somebody I'll send out. You know them because y'all are friends because they were there last week. And they come and you fix lunch for the elder person, and you can fix lunch for the caretaker. You can show them how to make the lunch. I've invented these meals for an old man living alone, that I can just throw 3 cans together and make this meal, and I can come in and do your lunch. Nothing fancy, but something you can do at home.
Right.
So I'm going to, but then I'll go in and I'll fix your lunch, and then leave you the stuff that you can make it yourself if you want to, or you can call us back.
Right.
Now what I'm doing there is I'm helping the caretaker, and the main thing I'm dealing with there is what I saw with Meals on Wheels, is the social thing. What I see is people living alone
Right.
are lonely.
Right.
And just to have a nice person come in and hang out with you.
Right.
But you know who else benefits? Caretakers get lonely. Caretakers, if you're there all day by yourself with somebody.
Yeah, you're sort of trapped there.
And
Not trapped,
so,
but you're not trapped there, but you're
well,
sort
you're
of down there,
isolated.
yeah.
And again, to me, it's all about that part of it. In other words, it's not the food; it's the social thing.
Right. Right.
You're giving, because that's what I was doing when I was doing Meals on Wheels.
Right.
There were people there that I knew weren't going to see anybody the rest of the day,
Right.
and I'd
They
hang
probably
out.
needed that presence of another soul more than the food some
Definitely.
days. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, because we weren't giving them very good food. I didn't like their food. But I liked it was a good idea,
Right.
and still is. It's a great idea. I'm not putting them down. I'm just saying that we could do more of that.
Right.
But you also, I see it because I can save you money, because I can go to Food Line and I can price everything. I can make a menu of 5 meals right now that I could do once a week for your lunch that would be different.
Right.
And I could price it, and it'd be very reasonable. That's another thing. We'd also be getting a kickback just like Meals on Wheels does, churches and people.
Right.
Yeah. So all of them would be gifts to people for what I think we need right now.
Right.
Who does Meals on Wheels?
Well, there is a national organization, and there are sponsors for it. But I was always interested when I did it in Stanton. There's another group that I think is a church-oriented group. They're also related to Meals on Wheels, but they were getting their meals from Armstrong's restaurant,
All right.
which was, and I think they were working out of a church. I think if you got down to it, I think the Statler brothers had a lot to do, because they were that church that they go to out on Richmond Road. Oh, Olivet. Olivet, I think, was helping that with a lot of that. But so I think you could. But Meals on Wheels is a national thing too. So
I just found this out today. I was telling you we had Thanksgiving at my work today, and they mentioned we all had to say something we were thankful for. And one of the insurance companies we deal with is this company called West Bend, and they all want you to meet a certain amount of goals. You know, if you sell this amount of policies and stuff. But so we did, and they donated $6,000 to like a food bank in Harrisonburg in our name.
oh wow,
That is so nice. Instead of giving us, we all can afford to buy our own food and stuff. They donated the money to like a,
that's a great gift.
yeah.
I bet they're better than that duck and that lizard.
Oh man, don't get even talking about the duck and the. This whole place will be shattered by the time we get him out of here. You have a dart gun we can hit him with.
Maybe I should make puppets of them, redefine them. Them fighting it out. That could be the first play.
As long as they both die, I'd watch it.
Whatever to the puppets, don't ask kids, they're dead.
So there was my ideas.
Those are good ideas. The chat likes the ideas. Heather Berry's already volunteering.
Yeah, well, you see, it goes along with the belugas and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know belugas. A lot of them have been on Meals on Wheels, but then there are some that just have money.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know what they're doing with, but they haven't given me any lately.
All those ideas could be one.
Oh yeah, could work out of one office.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
One restaurant.
and right at the beginning, I will say that what all I do is have ideas. I don't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets down to doing it, there's going to have to be somebody like you or you to actually do it.
Now, why were you focusing this on the West End?
Well, that's another gift that I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to strengthen the community.
Okay.
I grew up here. I'm part of it, and it's gone downhill, and it'd be a good place. But the other part is selfish in terms of money. There's grant money out
Right.
there. That if you play that game,
Like I was gone for 40 years. Was the West End ever a thriving?
what I was we
Yeah.
were talking on the way. No, we were talking. I was saying what really took it downhill was when they put the 262 bypass in,
Mm-hmm.
because people didn't go out that way anymore.
Right.
They just took the bypass. If you were out at the mall, you'd have to come, but you used to have to come in. Of course, the same things happened to Greenville Avenue.
Right.
It's been replaced by Richmond Road.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. It's just where the traffic goes.
Right.
But there is also a socio-economic difference.
Right.
Well, we're the poor side of town compared to the north side. So, but people go where they go. There's been an awful lot of money put into downtown, and that's great.
Right.
And it is what it is. But that same money is not going to the West End.
Right.
So, and there are reasons it's more spread out, but I think there's possibilities there.
It's definitely a hot topic in all the local elections.
Right.
What to do about the West End?
Yeah.
That shopping center area used to be pretty vibrant
Yeah.
when I was growing
Well,
up.
and we were talking earlier about having a place there to go to breakfast. That's you got to have that to start with. You've got 2 Mexican restaurants and 2 Italian restaurants, but you never know when they're open or when they're not. But
Mi Rancho is my favorite. Mi Rancho is my favorite.
everybody likes Mi Rancho.
Oh, it's so
Well, I
good.
don't know. It's not even fair to the one on that's the old Tasty Freeze. I don't know when that's open and when it's not. That's a very mysterious
Yeah, it is a
place.
mysterious place.
It'll have open. This light will be on, but there'll be no cars there.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think they'd just turn off the light. But now I've never even been in there since it's changed to a Mexican. But they were closed for a long time, so
Yeah.
I don't know what their story. I have heard somebody say that they like the food there though. So I don't know.
We haven't checked that one out yet.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean there used to be a lot. I mean, for me, it's not been the same since Big Lots left.
Mm-hmm.
That was why I mean I love Big Lots.
Oh yeah.
I just dug Big Lots.
Yeah, we
The
love Big
the
Lots
best
too.
thing, you go back far enough, the coolest store ever. Remember this? In Verona, Virginia, the Smith's Transfer
Oh yeah.
Surplus store.
Oh no.
Remember that?
No.
It's where I think it was the police station
Yeah.
now. And you'd pull in there, and those trucks would have wrecks and things, and they'd have leftover
Yeah,
stuff.
so,
Would
so
be
you had no idea what was
so
gonna be
you'd go in
there.
there, and you'd have a whole truckload of really cool stuff that they were trying to get rid of, so the
Yeah.
prices were great, but you never knew what you were going to
Yeah.
I
find.
love stores like that.
And that's the way Big Lots was. You just never knew what you were going to find in there.
Mhm.
But that Smith's Transfer was, boy, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
'Cause you could get some quality stuff there for almost nothing. And you never knew. It was like it was exciting. Maybe we could put one of those
Yeah,
in.
if we gotta get one of the- trucks are always wrecking. We gotta.
Yeah, we
get one
just
of
follow
those.
trucks around. We just go to the interstate and pick up today's mess.
New Jersey has like just these huge outdoor flea markets. Like the whole day you came and see them all. And my ex-wife worked in inland marine insurance, like insuring trucks and stuff. We'd be walking around. And she'd say, "I know almost all this stuff stolen off the back of a truck somewhere." It'd be somebody selling like 1,000 socks or headphones or something. You're like, where did this person get all this stuff from? Like somebody robbed a truck at a truck stop or something. They take it down to the. Yeah, I remember old Smiths. That was fun. Like
I don't remember Smith's Transfer.
Really?
I remember you go in there, sometimes they just have like 1,000 T-shirts. Then it'd be like stereo equipment. The next one, you never knew what it was
No,
going to be.
that's what was so
Yeah.
fun. And that kept you coming back.
Yeah.
'Cause you didn't know what you were going to find next. Got some great deals on food items because they had to get rid of it.
See, that was the problem with Big Lots and probably Smith's Transfer. Like, you would find this thing at Big Lots, and
Uh-oh.
I think it's still working.
I don't-
Yeah.
But it
Still alive.
it wasn't a reliable source for things. You'd find a good deal on something,
Right.
some chip or something you never heard of, and you'd grow to love that chip, and for $1. And then you go to Big Lots one day to get a bag of those chips, and they don't sell. That was
No, they're
that was
not.
last month.
That was
And nobody works has ever heard of it. What
Right.
is it? I've never seen it. It
and
was
the-
here like a week ago.
The other thing with Big Lots too is sometimes they weren't good deals at all. They'd be overpriced.
Right.
It's like, who priced this? This is not what I
true.
want. But then you'd get some good deals.
It's just the bizarre stuff. Like you said, the weird brands and stuff. Just like what in the world? Somebody's making this.
Because that's what Ollie's is now. That's
Yeah.
what they need over there now. If they can get an Ollie's in the west side.
I want to
That
go.
what
I
it's
haven't been to
called?
Ollie's yet, but I want to go. There's one near Mom's new house. So she's got a Big Lots within a mile of her house too. We went to our first Big Lots in a while when we visited Mom last week.
Yeah, Waynesboro has a big lot.
Yeah, that's where they went, which doesn't make me happier, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving the west end of town to go to Waynesboro, that's a kick in the
Sign of the
teeth.
times. Yep. Yep.
Do you remember when Hex was there? Remember the very
Oh, yeah, Hex.
far store Hex?
Yeah, they had a lot of clothes. And I don't buy clothes. And
I worked there for a while.
You worked at Hex?
Yeah, and I was a nightmare to them. I should have never been working there.
When was that?
Oh, when I was like, we would go in there like, we were young, we were partying, we'd go in like hungover, and they'd say, your job today is make like 20 bikes. And next thing we'd be out there like hungover making bikes. And I'd say, I've got 6 parts left over. How many do you have? 7. Do the brakes work? Yeah, I just set it out there. You just have all these parts. You're like, I didn't put this bike together. Something's missing somewhere. hide on the extra parts. You know? Swallow them all. You guys look rough. How are the bikes? They're fine, Chief. Let them go. You know.
Oh my God.
Kids tear through the parking lot. Daddy, I can't stop. Oh my God. I think I would be pretty quick. I was like 16 or 17, and they had these 2 guys that came in. They were like on a work release program, and they were just like some rough-looking guys. They even rougher than we looked. And one guy was like, we asked him what he did last night. He goes, I was reading. And I was looking at him. I was saying to myself, reading? You weren't reading. I know you weren't reading. I said, you were reading last night? And he was like, he just said like I was reading, thinking nobody would say anything. And I was like, you were reading last night? He's like, yeah, I was reading. I was like, I can't imagine you reading. What were you reading? I was reading. I said, what were you reading? It was dirty magazines. I was like, that's not what they call it. I was reading last night.
Dirty magazines.
You stupid kid, get out of here. Go make some bikes.
Quit with your questions.
Have you ever seen a dirty magazine? Oh my God. Back to prison you go. Good day working.
So what book is that?
This is my journal.
Is it a new one?
It's a brand new one. I just started it on November 5th.
Where'd you get it?
I don't know. I had one like it, and I finished it, and someone gave this to me. Might have been you.
It's a nice one.
It's beautiful. I love it. And it lasts forever. So.
Is it lined or just like a blank?
Yeah, it's lined. Definitely. I figured, here's where I wrote down the song I'd like for you to hear sing. You want to do can you do a song?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know the names of most of your songs. I just know the things I like to hear. Like last week, what was it?
Hardly here.
Yeah. This time it's Do You Believe in Ghosts?
Mm.
I haven't heard that in a long time. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear that. You know that song, Kyle? You're in for a treat. Notice I'm not putting you on the spot and asking you, did you act? No, I'm not even going to ask you. Because I've gotten the impression that you're a slacker.
Well, it was funny that you give me so much credit. You said, all you got to do is ask Spotify. You asked me what my radio was. What do you have, Spotify or anything? I'm thinking, man, I've got AM radio and a CD player.
I have to give you a CD.
All right. Yeah. I love this.
I'm tired of slowing down. I'm tired of waiting around. Tired of finding something new to find each time something is found. Of course I've learned my lessons. I can give some good advice. Still it's hard to take the same old river twice. When I know it isn't true, but it doesn't go away. And no one asks what's new, 'cause they know what I will say. Well, it's hard to have faith when you need it the most at the end of the day. Do you believe in ghosts? I disappear into these screens and a billion jelly beans. Now I'm coughing up a coffin, driving nails lazily. I might dream up a mountain on the wings of such an ocean, but I'm just a pair of ragged claws on the bottom of the ocean. When I know it isn't true, but it doesn't go away. And no one asks what's new, 'cause they know what I will say. Well, it's hard to have faith when you need it the most at the end of the day. Do you believe in ghosts? Thank you, thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
That was better than I thought. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah. That one's been covered by a couple of groups.
Oh, wow.
It should be.
A couple of nice versions on YouTube, I think.
It's a great song.
Thank you. Can't even remember writing that one.
Actually, I was looking through one of my old journals. I think it was like '98, and I had written. You'd given me the tape, and I'd written each song, and I had it rated. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I got that today. I said I haven't heard that in forever.
God, it's been that long? Well, you've probably heard it since then, haven't you?
I have heard it since then, but
That was first.
it was. But he doesn't do it very often.
Thank you, I Am the Sun. Very sweet. I didn't hear Salsa playing along.
That's what I was like. I thought you had picked up a guitar
Yeah,
or
what
something.
was going on back there?
The salsa decided to play a piano accompaniment.
Wish I had a camera on
That
that.
was very
Oh,
cool.
that's great.
Nice one, Salsa.
I wondered what was going on.
Yeah, I
thought Kether was jumping in.
I thought it was you. I thought you had brought like some kind of organ type grind. Old organ grinder over there. You love-
Organ grinder. What is that? I know it's like the monkey or whatever, but grinder? Organ grinder?
Weren't they the guys that like just cranked the
Oh,
thing in the air and the monkey would dance on
Ah, like a hurdy-gurdy or
the thing? Yeah.
something.
I've got an album of all hurdy-gurdy music. I was like, man, people were easily entertained back in the day. That's not very. You wouldn't want to hang
Now,
around.
what is hurdy-gurdy music?
It's
It's
Explain
a
that.
cool instrument that,
Yeah.
like you say, you crank it.
I know, I got that image of the cranking and the monkey jumping around. That's a hurdy-gurdy. I mean, what is
but like
it,
the
how
eight-
does
I
it
think it was
play?
like 1800s, wasn't it?
I mean, what's it play? I mean,
I want one. You should get me one for Christmas.
okay.
You probably get one at
They
Big
think they
Lots.
have one at Big Lots?
You never know.
Damaged Smith's Trucking. It's
I bet Ollie would have one.
Here's
We're in their corner and on it because their local agent.
It's a cool instrument.
wasn't Donovan the hurdy-gurdy man?
Well, he had that song.
Yeah.
Donovan was also Mellow Yellow, so I don't even count him anymore.
Do you know who played drums and guitar on Hurdy Gurdy Man?
Jimmy Page.
Yep. Yeah,
Who?
good job. Jimmy Page and Bonham from Led Zeppelin
Wow,
are the musicians on Donovan's Hurdy Gurdy Man.
that's good trivia.
I press up or in on these keys, which will then play the notes. Now I have two sets of strings. The top ones are my melody strings, which play the tune. There's ones on the side that are
It's sort of like
drum-
a multi-instrument
So,
type
I'm just gonna.
thing.
Seen that on any other instrument before.
Yeah, it's very different. Sideways,
Yeah.
you get the clacking,
I
but
think I
it
might
doesn't.
move
But
it
there's
over
no
here
like.
more. Down, down, up, 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 up.
That's right.
I'm going into the guitar playing position, which is a bit
That's
awkward. but
well, that's all right. Whatever you know, you can do that.
Jeez.
My goodness.
Trying to play a metal tune. And hopefully people in the comments will know what I'm playing if I do it correctly. I am not doing very good.
That's not the best example, but that's a hurdy-gurdy.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they were like street performers, though, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a very difficult instrument to understand.
Mm-hmm. Probably very difficult to maintain and tune up and all that. There's a wheel in there, so you're cranking the wheel, and the wheel rubs up against the strings and makes the noise.
Have you ever seen them? Like, have you seen one like in person?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna get one someday. Such a cool sound.
No, if you could ever get the puppets going, would that be like just something here in the studio, or you would take that like to performances somewhere?
Just here. Although Marinos wants me to do a puppet show.
See?
It would be fun. I probably will do that someday, but I gotta learn how to write a puppet play script first.
No, I can imagine you're good at building like a little, just what do they call a stage, or what do you call that, a hiding box. You would be. I can imagine you're good at that, aren't you?
I feel like with stuff like that, like anything you make is gonna be cool,
Right.
even if it's not that
Right.
high quality.
Right.
Just the effort and the visual. If you make a little house out of construction
Right.
paper, it's gonna be cool.
Right.
Anybody, if Dad did it, it would be awesome. If Dad decided, all right, I'm gonna make Nathan a backdrop for his puppet show, it would be sweet. Guaranteed. Changing glasses?
I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm having trouble with my eye. It keeps watering.
Now, were you a fan of like Sesame Street and Jim Henson and all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, everybody was, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I was more than other kids, but
No,
definitely Sesame Street.
like Kermit and Miss Piggy, was that Henson? Or was it, yeah.
Electric Company, Great Space Coaster. No Gnu's is good Gnu's with Gary Gnu. Did that ring a bell?
I don't think I ever saw that.
You never saw that? What was the rabbit hole I went down the other night? When we were coming up with a theme song for One More Time, and I found that kids show. I can't remember. It's all.
Some of the albums I just collect like old children's albums. Man, there's some crazy stuff people put out, especially like just people that would put them out on their own. Like the Electric Company would have something, but some of these people are just like local TV stations or whatever. These guys or women would put out children's albums. You're like, oh my God, these people were damaged, man. They're like, you don't know if they're burned out on drugs or if they've never developed into adult sensibilities. They're just like, I can just imagine children like, oh my God, what's wrong with these people? These songs are scaring me. Please
Well,
stop.
that tradition continues, right? With like SpongeBob SquarePants and
yeah.
stuff like that. It's like, who is this for? There's a lot of psychedelic burnouts that went into children's entertainment.
I never thought about that, but it's almost like SpongeBob is also like when my brother had kids, he enjoyed it just as much as they did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I can't imagine adults back in the day wanting to hear these albums. They're like, kids take these albums, and the kids are like, no, you listen to them.
Right.
These are scary.
Scary.
I wanted to Jim and Tammy Faye Baker doing children's songs. But I guess it was before they were like really popular. They're like real fresh-faced, young-looking people.
Which thing you talking about now?
It's a Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. Remember them?
Oh, yeah.
They'd have like a children's album from like when they were before they had like a TV show. It looks like.
But that's good. What else you got in your journal?
Oh, I don't know.
What was the very first thing you wrote in it?
In my journal?
Mm-hmm.
In the,
Did you dedicate it or anything?
no, I don't think so. No, I just picked up. Slept pretty well. 8:13. Reading David Lott's book, sent to me by Michael Hensley. Very thoughtful of him. And I'm reading my latest Louise Penny. Bury Your Dead. Alone today. College football, NBA, World Series. Got tired at 9, went to bed. Got up at 3:19 and watched the Houston win the World Series 4-1. Yonder's home run memorable. To the moon. A lot of love for Dusty. Then I watched a great football game, LSU beating Alabama in overtime. So what I started doing was, I get tired a lot sooner now and the ball games are on. So I tape them and then I just go on to bed.
Right.
And then when I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I go down and have the added advantage of not having, I can fast forward
Right.
through that damn lizard and the duck. So I don't have to see them. I get to see them go by real fast and I get happy. So I've changed my lifestyle since I started this. And I don't like, if there's a 10 o'clock ball game on tonight and I have a fantasy team in it,
Right.
I'll just tape it. And
Right.
when I get up in the morning, because I usually have a little bit of downtime in the morning before I start all the busy things I have to do. The Wordle and Sudoku and crossword puzzle.
Right.
It's just a busy morning. But I usually, between 5 and 8, have some downtime.
Now, what's Selma like at 5 o'clock?
What's summer like
No,
at 5?
Selma. The street.
Selma. Well, right now it's just pitch dark.
I've been seeing deer walk up through those little alleyways a lot lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't. I've had them in my garden this summer, but I haven't seen any. I don't have a lot of cover for them, but they're. I knew they were around.
Yeah.
They've been getting into stuff, but I do like your early mornings. There are people that walk at certain times. There's a guy, or someone in the neighborhood, though, I'm going to catch them, that is bringing my trash cans in for me. I put them out Sunday night, and before I can get out there and get up in the morning, the garbage comes at about 6:45,
Right.
7. And somebody is walking every day, and they bring my can up and put it there. And I've got to catch them. And
It's like an
reward 'em.
inverse vandal.
Yeah, exactly. Reverse vandalism. You get that in a small town. Reverse vandalism. People come up and give you a pie.
Like people breaking into your house and cleaning the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, I hate when that happens.
It's a double-edged sword.
That's a good one. Now here's one. This is the last one I got from the journal. I thought of this, and I pulled this out of a journal the other day. Because I do thoughts for the day. I always did them when I was teaching. I'd put a thought for the day up. I've had more than one student say, I didn't learn any chemistry, but I liked your thoughts for the day. But, and that was okay. I understood. But here was the thought for the day. Do you know who said this? And it's a longer quote, but I just quoted the last part because I was thinking about something. Even from the most impudent lie, something will always stick. even from the most impudent. I like that word.
What is that?
impudent.
What does that mean?
Impudent.
Percy, the bot in Discord, could tell us.
Well, impudent. I can't think of a way to define it without using the word. Impudent is it's. Do you know the word?
I always thought it meant like it was like
Percy says, marked by casual disrespect,
Casual.
improperly forward or bold.
Yeah, it's an out of line statement.
right.
It's stating too much or going over the line.
It's like
An impudent lie would be an obvious lie that you're. Even from the most impudent lie, something will always stick.
What does that mean to you?
Well, that means that if you're a fucking duck or a lizard, you can say anything you want. And you can say it often enough, and they'll go out and buy your product.
That's the first thing I thought of was with repetition.
Yeah.
It's especially true.
But it's also just the idea of exposing someone to that thought. If they run it through their mind, some of it
Something will stick.
And if you say it enough, it becomes, what do you call it? False facts, or what's it?
Truthiness.
well, the first thing I thought of was Trump when you said it when you wrote it.
That would be the first thing.
Most people.
That some people, I don't want to get political. I don't want to lose any Trumpers over this. So it's he said that.
Kyle.
Kyle and he's already alluded to the fact that he wouldn't vote for a Republican. So we already got him down. But my son and I are independents. We're not Democrats or Republicans.
That's good.
But you are not a Republican. But that's when I thought, that's when this was written, because this was taken, and there was another line before it was even more.
Where did it come from?
Well, that's where it comes. That's the interesting thing. When you say what you say, which you did, which is great, and we didn't plan that. But you would think that, but then you want to guess who's the most despicable human being on the planet that's ever lived?
Hitler.
Mein Kampf. That's a quote from Hitler.
Oh, wow.
Was it a quote from him?
Hmm?
That's something he said?
He wrote it.
Oh, wow.
He used the word impudent, which really impressed me. But yeah, that's what that's all about. That was when I was thinking, you can learn something, but, I'm not going to say any more or I'll get in that camp that I don't want to be associated with, which is anti-anything. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting point of discussion possibly for us. But yeah, it's just the idea if you repeat it enough, and some of it will stick. That's that information highway that playing with the media. The whole idea of we don't have honest media now. We have people taking sides, and obviously doing it. We know they're doing it. But if you want to hear what you want to hear, you turn to that channel. If you want to hear that, turn to that channel.
Right.
And there is.
But even when there was only one channel, it could be argued that the media was always putting forth a narrative that wasn't necessarily true.
That's there's no doubt about it. And you still have that going on because you still have different interests, whether it be advertising or politics or whatever. We still deal with that all the time.
Way before Trump came along to call it fake news, Noam Chomsky was writing books called Manufacturing Consent about how the media in America all serves sort of the corporate or political interest of the empire. So from all sides, the critique of media is there, and even though it's now fractured in all these diverse marketed to certain people, it's not necessarily like it used to be truthful, and now it's not. It's just a new
Right.
version of the truthiness of it all.
Right.
It's all just sort of
Yeah, it's
shilling a
almost like
narrative.
Trump exposed it more than, or started, or used it more effectively than he created it.
Hmm.
It's almost like the lie has always been around. Like when I think of impotent lie, it's like you don't even really expect people to believe you. It's so outrageous and so you're just gonna beat them over the head with it till they believe it. Like it's not even really a fact. It used to be you would lie like a little bit. And you would say, "I hope they believe this." Now you just lie just so you can say something to get that thought in somebody's mind.
Well, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Putting that thought out there. He also, in that same paragraph, alludes to the fact that the larger the group of people that you're dealing with that might believe you, the easier it is to fool them, which is interesting too. Along
Because you
those
get into
same
a
lines.
mob mentality as well.
Yeah, you get and it's partly wanting to be a part of something.
Hmm.
That factor of it's not just me thinking this, but this is the way we feel.
Right.
And when you can do that, which, Mr. Trump's an artist at that too.
Hmm.
He's very good at a lot of things.
Hmm.
Talking about I did read online that his speeches were always I. And when he declared his presidency, he was like, it was we, like what you said. He's hooked into that. It's not, don't look at me anymore. Now it's us. It's our cause. It's
Movement.
weird. Yeah, it's weird altogether.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm. That's an interesting observation. Decided change of tact.
Yeah.
But how do you I feel like, distrust of authority is healthy. We all came from that. But how I feel like the threat to truth is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you look through human history, like what truth didn't change. I don't know. I
Right.
feel like on one hand, I want there to be some authority for truth in these times, but then on the other hand, I can't imagine there being a trustable version of that. And if there was a trustable version of that, would they still be right? Because they probably wouldn't be right either. So I feel like,
Right?
I mean, I guess like,
What's your understanding of how you're using right in terms of truth? Are you
I mean, I
saying
guess
you can be,
I guess the best version of truth is not necessarily being right. It's just not being deceitful. Like if you think about science or whatever, it's the best that we know at the moment, but it's not necessarily the end of the story. There could be a challenge to the hypothesis that comes along and proves it wrong, but it's the accepted science for now. But in 100 years, we might, another Einstein might come along and be like, oh, like actually that's not how any of it works. This is how it works. So there has to be a way of putting forth the truth without making it sound like that's the end of the conversation.
That's in science we distinguish between a fact, a law, and a theory.
A fact, a law, and a theory.
A fact, a law, and a theory are three different things.
What's the difference between them?
Well, a fact is a true statement that's true as you've described it under all circumstances that have ever been studied thus far. What was it?
Fact, a law, and a theory.
A law is a statement about how something works that explains it as far as we know at this point in time, and it often involves things that you can't prove. I mean, there's a lot of things in science you can't prove. You cannot prove that something didn't happen.
Right.
I'll give you one here in a minute, but then what was the third one?
Theory.
No, we just did theory. Didn't we?
No, fact, law, and theory.
Fact, law. Theory is what we have as an explanation for something that may not be true, but we don't know. According to what we know so far,
That's
this
good.
explains
Right.
it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Right.
I mean, it's not necessarily true.
Right.
So in science, the whole idea is trying to prove a theory. And there's some things you can prove and some things you can't prove. I mean, there's some things you just can't prove. Like this bothers me. This was bothering me the other day. This is the kind of thing that bothers me. When you tell me that there's no two snowflakes are alike, that's bullshit. You can't tell me that.
Right.
You have not looked at half the. I mean, if you looked at a tenth of all the
Right.
snowflakes in the world, you still could be wrong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all but people will believe that. A little bit of it'll stick. You say it enough, but you know.
Now, what did that?
But the
come-
truth, what they're saying is problematically in terms of the way these form and the angles, that those, like there could be a trillion ways that this one could be formed, and there could be another trillion way, in other words, the odds of all those trillions coming together would be like you and I both winning the lottery.
But
You
I mean,
know?
we've
But
all,
that could happen.
right.
You and I could win the lottery. And so there could easily be two snowflakes alike. But my point is, you could never prove it one way or the other. You'll never, you can't tell me that no two snowflakes, that's just not right.
But is that a scientific statement, or that's just like saying, like, we're all special, or I mean, is it did it come about in a scientific way, or did it come about in like a way to make that
Well,
even if there's a million things, we're all different and special in our own way?
well,
Or is that something that the scientists really believe, that those two snowflakes are the
they're
same?
talking about the odds, and they're also talking about how snowflakes form,
Okay.
and they know all that.
Right.
And the odds of two snowflakes going in this same pattern
Right.
is remote.
right.
But I'm just saying, you can't tell me that it couldn't happen.
Right.
With certainty. I mean, you sort of illustrated my point in that in all three things, the fact, the law, and the theory, and this is science we're talking about. And science, if anything deals with truth, it should be science. Of all the, I guess math would be a very truth-riddled field. But with each of those definitions, you added, as far as we know, up to this point in time. Like that was like an important criteria that you added to each of those things. Like as far as we know, subject to change, subject to new information. This is our best guess, which I just thought was sort of interesting. That even in the field of science, it's you felt obligated to add as far as we know up to this point,
Well,
but without saying any of these things are in stone. Some kind of actual
Yeah.
truth.
Well, a fact would be one that you have established, I guess. But
Right.
But no, theory definitely. And again, part of that's because there are things you haven't been able to study, and some things you can't study. Like there's no way. My point about the snowflake is there's no way you can see that anybody's ever seen all of them. So to
Right,
make that
right.
statement doesn't really work for me. But yeah, I got the odds thing, but I don't think that. I don't know why.
But I think what Nathan's trying to say is, like, there been millions of facts that scientists believe that then 30 years later they got a better microscope and like, oh, now it's
They see some
yeah, now it's
different
not
way
a
to
fact.
approach
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's the nature of science. That's why science is ever changing, or theoretically, things that we used to see as theories that explained it, we've came up with a new instrument or a new person. Einstein changed a whole lot of stuff with his brain. We just never looked at it that way before. I never thought of that.
Yeah, a whole new perspective.
Yeah,
a
just
new
gave you
a
a
new
new
fact.
Yeah,
Changes all the theories and laws.
yeah. Yeah, and someday I think we're going to do that with our politics. I still believe that there is hope. You know, when you start looking at cultures and history, you're looking at mistakes being made dealing with selfishness and money and all those things. But I think eventually we could work some of those things out. It doesn't really take too many Ukraines to see that war is horrible.
Right.
I mean, none of the people I know that had anything to do with really being in Vietnam, it changes you.
It's so hard to believe that we're still, as humanity, willing to engage in such a thing.
I know.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, but we're ready to go in a heartbeat.
We are ready to go in a heartbeat.
And it's but I do you know, there's a part of you that wants to say that's always going to be true, but I don't think it has to be. I had the idea that all we'd have to do, it's a meme. There's another thing we learned last week, a meme. Here's the meme would be, don't lose the Army. We need the Army. We need the Army to protect us from natural disasters, the floods, the hurricanes. We need people going in, organized and taking care of people. And if all of our countries were doing that for each other and helping each other out, it'd be a heck of a lot better than think of the money that we're putting into bombs. And I'm talking about our country. I mean, we're just sending all that stuff over there to kill people.
Right.
And why aren't we taking that money and building hospitals and schools and safe places for our people to live?
Sort of like the reverse vandal that brings your trash cans in. We should send our army into places with shovels and plows and books.
Exactly.
And if we're going to invade, it should be to build something beautiful.
Yeah, we could do that.
We could do that. But then, if you get too weak, then some villain rises up and takes you out.
Well, there's always, I mean, I was thinking about the Incas the other day and how they took over and how they were so powerful. But they were powerful because they killed everybody and made them slaves. And so when the Spanish came along with their horses and guns, they didn't have to convince the people, all those millions of people, those natives, to join them because they had been so mistreated by the people that other people that they were ready to say, okay, let's do it. So, you know, it's been going on forever and ever. But the violence and the coming in with a gun and taking it over from the old westerns and all the old shoot 'em ups and everything, it's always the same way.
Right.
It's just easier to break down than it is to build up. And that's what you see.
And it's
So
easier
for a
to steal
period
from somebody else than to create it for yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, I often wonder if we were connected. It's like you know, we came over, not we, but you know, they came over to the East Coast and they, you know, moved out, took over the Native Americans and stuff. We reached California, like this is as far as we could go. I often wonder, like, would we be Russia too if there was another country right land connected to us? You know, what if there was, you know, is it just a natural urge? And they have like great cornfields and, you know, like a canal to the sea. You know, would we be like, we've got to take them over too? You know,
Well,
it's almost like we're confined into our little.
We sort of
space.
did. Hawaii was after
Yeah.
that, you know, and then, I mean, it's too far beyond that.
Right.
But, yeah.
I'm like Canada. I mean, anything we want in Canada, we just, you know, they're not, you know, Well, I guess we're going in there putting the pipelines and all that stuff. They don't want all that.
Well, it was too cold to take over them. We didn't need to go up there. But they had their own wars going. I mean, they were fighting up there. The Native Americans up there were mistreated too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about Canadian history.
I don't either, but I know I learned a little bit of the French and the English. They were going at it pretty good, and then you had the United States, and then you had your native population. But evidently, they've been horribly mistreated.
I was looking at something online this week, and I saw the coolest name. It was a Native American guy, dressed in the leather and stuff. It was like 1892, I think it was. His caption was Chief Dust Rider. It's like, man, what an awesome name. Can you imagine
What was
walking
it
in?
again?
His name was Chief Dust Rider. Dust Rider.
Dust Rider?
I was like, man, that is a badass name.
Dust Rider. It's a story there.
Yeah, I know.
So how do we end? I'm tired.
We haven't figured that one out. How do we get out?
Yeah. Well, what
We
time?
talked-
What time is it for one thing?
9 o'clock.
Oh my
Wow.
We've been going for 2
You got
hours.
perfect timing. You know exactly when to.
9 o'clock. I can't believe that. Well,
a good
I'm
sign.
tired at 9 o'clock. So
Remember he had clapping last time. I like that.
I can definitely do that. So how do we say something? Do we have a catchphrase? We need a catchphrase.
what's Jabberjaws? That's not a catchphrase. That's a title.
Thank you all out there so much for tuning in, for joining us here. Another episode of Jabber John. Look forward to being with you again. And with that, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Good night.
wrap. Good
Have
night.
a good one.
Nice.
I have no idea what we just said, but we said a lot of shit. I no idea. I read.
Man, I enjoyed this. I think we talk about good
I
stuff.
think I talked to you.
No.
What do you think?
Nothing.